All right, the Reds, it's the second look at Burnley 1, Liverpool 3, but also a preview show for Bournemouth v Liverpool as well. We thought we'd combine the two just because, putting two videos out back to back at this time of year, I don't know. Someone thought it was a good idea, so we'll just crack on, eh? The Reds were sound anyway against Burnley, as you will now know. They are now record-breaking Reds. It took their Premier League's point tally to 39 after 15 matches, more than any other Reds side in the history of the club. The previous best at the same stage of a season was 38, accrued in 1904-05, 1978-79 and 1990-1991. So yeah, the Reds are doing all right. That's the context you need to put it in. That's the context that you need to remember when you start to lose your shit. We'll start with the stats. I've got Johnny Milburn and I've got Paul Cope. We're going to do the stats from Burnley, Liverpool. Ball possession. I'm going to come to you. This is the thing now, isn't it? Yeah. Stats. So 75% of possession across the 90 minutes for Liverpool. 18 shots to Burnley's 10. 12 on target for Liverpool, 6 on target for them. We had 9 corners, they had 5. We had 2 big chances, so did they. What else? Accurate passing, Liverpool 85%, them 60%. Duels won, 48, Liverpool won more. Aerials won, Liverpool won more. Basically, the Reds were all right, which was kind of weird because I don't know, there was obviously a section of the game where you were watching it going, not sure about this, and I think everyone was almost preempted a poor performance because of the 7 changes and the fact that for the first time since September 2017 we started a game without the front 3. Yeah. What did you make of it?
Generally, I think it's funny, I was chatting to Craig off camera before and saying, we always end up talking about the negative Liverpool fans, but the reality is I don't tend to see the negative Liverpool fans because I'm not looking for them. But I would guess, as always, there are people out there who don't like this sort of game, and I like it. I think it's a really, really positive game. The fact that you've made so many changes, the fact that you've not got that front 3, the fact that Burnley were clearly well up for it as we thought they would be off the back of what they've been doing lately. Liverpool are coming to town, Sean Dyche doing the usual rough them up and all of that sort of stuff. The players that we had coming in all very much rusty and haven't had any rhythm, haven't had any flow at all. That was obvious. The fact that we got through the sort of first hour, and yeah, it was a bit disjointed, but we basically allowed them to blow themselves out. Whilst, these stats show that we still did pretty well. When you're talking about a game where Dyche said afterwards, yeah, our tackling was brilliant and blah, 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 and you're like, well, ours was better. We're still tougher. Even things like aerial duels won. That's a sign of an improving side. That's not something that we'd go to these places in the past and come away with as a positive statistic. And a lot of that obviously comes down to the mighty Virgil van Dijk, doesn't it? But I think generally speaking, the fact that we got through that first hour, we went behind as well, and then we came storming back in the way we did. It's nothing but positives for me.
Is it the first time this season that we've come from behind to win?
Don't know.
No,
it feels like that, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like it happens often.
It's a really big statement. I remember the first time. I remember Rafa did it away at Fulham, and it was the first, and it was Alonso scored. It was the first time it had happened. I think it had not happened for a long time under the Houllier reign, and it was a big statement. And it was a big game changer for that particular team. And I think our critics and our critics within our own ranks will say we've laboured to some of the victories this season, and you could argue we laboured a little bit to this one as well. But what I saw was once we went that goal behind, the much vaunted clicking of this Liverpool team happened for me. I saw lots of one-touch, very, very good interplay, carving this team open and creating really, really good chances. And I think a few people had said, I wonder if that Derby goal will be the thing that allows us to kick on. And I was expecting, obviously with the number of changes, it was not going to be a natural roll straight on. But I do think something in the muscle memory of this Liverpool team, particularly when you put Salah back into the front line and all of a sudden we saw the game lift by 10-15%. Yeah. But particularly that second goal, the one that came from the free kick. We did a show with Rob the other week talking about brilliant team goals. It's absolutely fantastic. That's
the third, the counter's brilliant as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, one-touch football that a team like Burnley, with no respect whatsoever, by the way, a team like Burnley cannot live with that type of interplay. Because
but even the period of play that I think most people are writing off as not being very good, as in the first 60 or so, say, you had in that period of time a good ball from, I think it was from Trent, finds Sturridge in the box, and he should probably just go first time, and he's probably got a goal there. There's another one where Shaqiri's released and his touch lets him down, and it's just sort of little moments that, you know, you could have got a goal like in this period where we weren't playing well. I mean, the other thing about it as well is that I thought Liverpool at times, you know, I was watching in the pub and a lot of people were saying, like, move it quicker, get forward, you know, like panicking almost that you had to score. And I think Liverpool were quite calm about it, and we're just moving it round, keeping Burnley away from it, dominated the possession, and almost, we talked about this before on here, about just backing themselves that across the 90 they're going to win it. They don't have to win it in that particular 2 minutes or that particular 5 minutes.
Yeah, it comes back to my new favourite saying from Carragher the other week, which I've referenced a few times, of when people talk about we're not playing well, what they mean generally is we're not attacking well. But I think even a step further than that, they mean we're not attacking effectively or as often as fans would like. And I think that's part of the problem is, as fans, we want to score now.
Yeah.
We want the ball that Henderson's got at his feet now to end up in the back of the net. And as a team, over 90 minutes, as you say, what they're all on the pitch to do is go, right, as us who start the match and the lads who are going to come on, our job collectively is to win this football match at some point in the next 90 whatever minutes. And so when you're talking about not playing well, I think even in that period where nothing too much happened in a creative sense, those moments you mentioned, we're still doing what we're meant to be doing, which was controlling the game, keeping hold of the ball, moving them around. I've criticised us in the past against Cardiff the other week for not doing enough with the ball, as in moving the other team around and giving them stuff to think about. I think that's changed a little bit over the past few weeks. I think we are giving the other team more to think about, even if it's not creating as much as you might like in the sort of 10 yards space inside the box. So I think that's all fine, especially when, as you start, you're thinking, well, we've got these other lads to bring on.
Yeah.
That's all right. Like, if we get to 60 and we bring these lads on, Burnley can't live with that. They're not equipped to have Salah and Firmino coming on with fresh legs and being able to keep because you've got to think, for that first hour, if you're critical of the first hour, that's when Burnley are putting all of their energy into the game, which is probably part of our plan.
They could have had a red card as well, I thought, Burnley. They had a very, very late challenge, didn't they? I can't remember who it was now. But on Moreno, and it could have easily been a red card in another game. They're flying in, and I think the bravery that Liverpool had to play their game and not be dragged into just a brawn contest. It became one where actually we allowed our class to show through in the end. I thought it was a really, really good performance, and the atmosphere seemed to match it in the end.
You mentioned, you mentioned Salah and the fact that he comes on it. Just in his spell on the pitch, he creates 3 goal scoring chances and also provides the assist for Shaqiri's goal as well. So, just underlines what you're saying, really, that, they do a job to an extent, but then you bring your big guns off the bench and they haven't really got anything left to stop those people. Just to highlight the performance of a few individuals in the Liverpool side, mentioned already Virgil van Dijk. The phenomenal statistic from his performance is that of 13 duels, we've talked about duels before, look it up if you don't know, of 13 duels, he wins 12, which, believe me, is very, very good. And basically means that Burnley were getting nowhere near him. Also, 88% of his passes were accurate. And as you'll know from seeing the game, a lot of them were over a long distance and were glorious passes, basically, including, obviously, one that sets up the goal, the key pass for that.
Unbelievable touch, that as well. Yeah. First time.
But what I liked about him, and what isn't detailed in the stats, and we touched on it in the post-match pints, is the fact that you could see him all night talking, cajoling, trying to keep the tempo up. He bollocked someone for not taking a throw in too fast enough for his liking. You know what I mean? I think he had a bit of a go at Henderson for chewing the ball a little bit at one point as well. And it was a night where you just really saw the leaders in the team, I thought. So Van Dijk, Milner gets the goal as well. And you can just see, character throughout the side. The other one to highlight as well, Alisson. makes 5 saves, but also absolutely crucial on that third counter-attack goal in terms of, makes the save, gathers it, and then gets it out there quickly. Liverpool are on the break. Liverpool put it in the back of the net. And, Klopp said the other week, what a fucking counter. Well, that was another one.
Well, coaches will say to you, put it in the top left-hand or right-hand corner, and no keeper in the world's going to save it. He saved it, didn't he? Yeah. He gets his hand to it, right in that postage stamp, as my half-fellow would call it, and brings it down, and 10 seconds later, he starts the attack. Absolutely incredible player.
Yeah, 5 saves on the night from Alisson. Naby Keita was another one as well. When we've been talking about him in recent shows, we've been saying, we need him to show, we need him to give everyone a lift, show us that, what he did in Germany, he can do over here. I think he did that, didn't he? That shot, he's so unlucky to not score with that. It's a brilliant save from Hart, to be fair to him. But just everything about the performance, he was everywhere, wasn't he? I mean, we haven't got to the stage where we can put up heat maps, but these have all got one in front of them. And basically, you don't need to see it. Naby was everywhere, is what the heat map shows. 93% of his passes were accurate. I think that was the best on the pitch. He led the teams in terms of blocks, in terms of possession regains in defence. He had more shots on target than anyone else. And yet his passing accuracy was better than anyone else on the pitch as well. So this is a good time for him to be finding this form as well, isn't it?
Yeah, huge positive. In a night of positives, he's probably the standout positive, because we've all been saying for weeks how much we've missed that player in the middle of the park. And I was chatting to Neil on Talking Reds earlier, so for anyone who hasn't seen that, I've mentioned this. It's really fascinating for me when football's quite a complex thing, and we like to talk about it in complex ways, which I think is right. But sometimes it is just as simple as it is when you're playing with your mates 5-a-side down the park, whatever. And Klopp's, if you've seen Klopp's post-match comment, he was saying, basically, first off, we just weren't giving it to Naby Keita enough. Like, we just kept kicking it over his head. And so we said,
just give it to the boss lad.
That was it. What was the change of tactics? Give it to Naby, he's great. And I think we saw more of that. And there was very much an element of him just saying, well, I'll just skip past 3 of you, that's fine. And I know it didn't go in, but even that shot, I think that was just sort of our first taste of, I'm not sure we've seen that yet. We've seen some nice touches and some nice dribbles and some nice passes, but I'm not sure we've seen that sort of explosive power with zero backlift.
On Sunday, my mate George was sat next to me at the match, and he said he was a bit frustrated with Keita at the weekend, and he was saying, when are we going to see the guy we saw on YouTube clips playing for Leipzig? Yeah. And that last night, he looked like the guy who was in the YouTube clips, sort of driving at people, beating a man, getting his shot away. It was so, and to your point, absolutely spot on about from a timing perspective. We're going to run into this real tough run of fixtures now. I'm sort of quite excited about the thought of seeing Naby Keita, Big Verge, Alisson Becker lining up against Man United, and
Fabinho as well. I mean, he's shown as well. He's shown that he can offer something now. He doesn't look miles off like he did do at other points. Yeah. And obviously Klopp's starting to integrate him into the side again. A very good time for him to be coming good. And it's a bit like, this is another thing, a theme of what we talk about, isn't it? Whether we decide whether the squad is deep this week or not. And this week, it's starting to feel like it is again, because these lads now, you're looking at them and going, well, they can come on and contribute. They're fine, them now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because obviously there's a lot of obsession with Man City, and probably rightly so. They're really good. But we're brilliant, and I'd love to be the documentary that they did. I'd love that documentary to be getting filmed now.
I have to do it now again.
Yeah, just to see, because even when you see Guardiola mention, like you might have seen in the interview he did a couple of weeks ago, someone asked him about reading. It had nothing to do with us, and he said, "I can't read because I start thinking about Liverpool."
I was there. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And to be fair to him, I said this to a few people. It was
tongue in cheek a bit.
He was playing to the gallery. It was at a university in Liverpool, and he was like, I think he was acknowledging Liverpool in that respect, but I think you can imagine from his point of view, he's put together 100-point team, and he's thought we can dominate for years, and they possibly can dominate for years, but he didn't bank up within sort of 12 months. He might have another 99-point team sat right there, and that's the, if you extrapolate our points per game at the moment, we're on for 98.8 or something like that. It is so. I think. We said at the start of this season, Jurgen Klopp needs to assemble a team that can amass 90 points, and that's unprecedented for Liverpool in the Premier League area. That's the ask of this manager, And if City go and do 100 points again, there's not a lot you can do about it. He's done better than that so far, and you'd back him. You'd now back him to go further. So, listen, well, it's a long old season, isn't it? Lots of things can happen.
Well, that's the point. I've said this before. They're flying. They've been flying, and they're only 2 points ahead of us. We haven't been flying, and Guardiola will be looking down, thinking, okay, because he knows all about Naby Keita. He knows all about our weaknesses and the things we've been missing. He knows as well as we do that we've missed a player like that, and now that's sort of coming in. When you think of the other stuff that combines. Firmino got a rest, then he came on and got a goal. Salah got a rest, came on and got an assist. Keita's had a great game. These other lads have felt like they've been part of it. They've played the game. Sturridge got 90. Lots and lots of positives.
I'd be really interested to, I know when Sean does the review, it felt like certainly up to the last international break, all of Liverpool's intensity metrics were down, weren't they? All the KPIs around sprints and presses and all those things were, 70-80% of what we saw towards the end of last season. And the contention is that that's a deliberate thing because he wants to conserve them, and there'll be a point where he drops the flag and says, right boys, let's go. Maybe that's starting to happen now, because I thought certainly in the first half against Everton, the press was back and we were really
it was a bit like that under Rafa, wasn't it? Like there was a, I remember people saying that he'd kept the side on a bit of a leash, and you remember sort of, people.
It was used as a criticism, though.
It was a criticism then. Yeah, people were booing a draw at home and things like that. But later on in the season, I think we blew Villa away at home, something like that under Benitez, and you thought then he has let them off the leash here because everyone was everywhere and it was all guns blazing, and you still feel like Liverpool's got that in it if it wanted to do it, hasn't it? Anyway, it's Bournemouth on Saturday, the early kick-off. Liverpool have got an opportunity to go top of the league and twist the pressure on its head a little bit, because it always feels like we're playing after City. This time they play after us, and they're playing Chelsea as well, so potentially a tough one. We went down to Bournemouth, I'm not going to lie to you, it was in the summer, which is why it's sunny. I've got shades on and I'm holding ice creams and stuff.
Continuity problem.
But yeah, here's what happened when we went to Bournemouth. We spoke to a Bournemouth fan, we found out what there is to do down there. Here's that. Not going to lie to you, Reds, it isn't December. Breaking the fourth wall and all that, but we recorded this earlier in the year. We are in July right now, and it's beautiful down here in Bournemouth. 7 miles of beach. Reliably informed that 750,000 ice creams are at on this beach every year, and yet we get December. Sound that, innit? There's someone in that who's doing that fixture computer's having a laugh. December for this, Brighton's had a crap time of year as well, and yet the blue shite get to come down here in August. But anyway, I'll stop moaning. So Bournemouth, we've only played them 7 times away in the history of the club at the time of making this film. And they've only beat us once. You might well remember that once. A 4-3, Mr. Fraser, Mr. Karius. Should we say no more on the subject? Last season though, we tonked them 4-0, played really well, and hopefully more of the same this time. So, usual script with these. What do their fans think of us? Who do they like? Who do they dislike out of Liverpool players? And what's the fans' tip for where to go, where to drink, and what to do in this place in Bournemouth? We went to a greasy spoon called the Cherries Cafe to find out and have a fry up.
Sam Davis, and I've been an AFC Bournemouth supporter for 30 years, and I produce and present Back of the Net, the AFC Bournemouth podcast. We've had some bad times. Obviously, we've been the lowest that we can be, 23rd in League Two only sort of 10 or so years ago, and since Eddie Howe came back, we've slowly progressed, and the Premier League was something that we never really expected. It happened a bit too soon. We've got our investor on board. It was in the timeline, it was very much sooner than we expected. However, once we got there, it's been great. Fans still expect, even though we've got a small stadium and all this kind of stuff, there is a new stadium in the pipeline. Okay. But fans, you still expect, and we had a run last season. We lost 6 or 7 in a row, and fans were, there was talk of Eddie Howe being sacked, and considering where he's actually taken us, I think that talk was just nonsense, really. But overall, it's good because we are completely overachieving. Any finish in the top 17, which is where we want to be, is absolutely great. So to finish 9th the season before, and then last season to finish 12th was absolutely brilliant. It's very difficult to dislike any particular sort of Liverpool players, because I really like the mentality that Jurgen Klopp's instilled in the squad. If I had to, who knows whether he's going to be around or not. Daniel Sturridge, for the celebration alone, because it's absolutely frustrating. If I had to, this is clutching at straws a bit, Adam Lallana, because he's an ex-AFC Bournemouth kid that went to Southampton. But other than that, there's no real player that I really sort of detest for Liverpool. I kind of like what Jurgen's doing there. Players that I like, Jordan Henderson. He showed in the World Cup what he's all about. It's amazing the way the fans of other clubs used to deride him, and then all of a sudden he puts in some worldy performances for England and everyone loves him. And I think, he's energetic, he's strong, he's powerful, and I can't see him going anywhere else for years to come. And I think the team should really be moulded around him if possible. For away fans, most go to a bar called the Mellow Mellow Bar, which is in Boscombe. It's about a 5-10 minute walk to the stadium, sort of down towards the sea. Or they can go into Bournemouth town centre as well, where there's loads of pubs and bars. I think the Christopher Creek at the Lansdowne, which is a Wetherspoons pub's always popular, and then there's a 20-minute walk up the road and they get food there as well. And plus this place we're in as well, the Cherries Cafe, does your food for home and away fans too, so it's not too bad.
Okay, so that was our little trip to Bournemouth. Lovely it was. Probably wouldn't go on a little break there at this time of year, but if you're going down there for the footy, there are some decent boozers. We've had a couple of decent nights out in Bournemouth. It's a trek, but it's worth it, I would say. Anyway, okay, enough of the Judith Chalmers stuff. Bournemouth and the kids there. Yeah, just looking at Google that one. Bournemouth and Liverpool head-to-head in the Premier League. There's been 6 games. Liverpool have won 4 of them. There's been a draw, and Bournemouth have won just 1 of them. You might remember that. That was a 4-3 that Liverpool should never have lost, but they did. But that's a while back now. Recent games then, Liverpool beat them 3-0 at Anfield in April. We went down there last December. We won 4-0 then. There was a 2-2 draw April 2017, the 4-3 which I referenced, which was December 2016, and then April 2016 we were down there and we won 2-1. Form guide as well. You know what Liverpool have been doing, obviously, because you're a Red. Well, unless you're an Evertonian, and you're just watching again because you want me to call you bitter bricks or something. But yeah. Bournemouth recently, they beat Huddersfield at home 2-1, but were apparently very fortunate to do so. All the indicators say that Huddersfield, if they had someone decent up front, probably would have won that one, but they haven't, so they lost. They lost 3-1 to Man City, they lost 2-1 to Arsenal, they lost 2-1 to Newcastle, they lost 2-1 to Man United. That is their recent form. Not the best, it's fair to say. And also as well, Eddie Howe has lost more games as a manager in all competitions against Liverpool. Where is Bogey side? I said that really shit, but where is Bogey side? So okay, go Bournemouth. What are you doing? 7 changes against Burnley. Do all these people now come back in again? Did anyone do something that you saw the other night where they stay in? What are you doing with the team?
Well, from my perspective, I think Klopp's earned the right to. So he was able to rest his first 11 to a large extent. I think, and then when he's needed to break glass, it was quite that sort of status, but he was able to bring on the lads for the last sort of 20 minutes and make sure in the game. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have something similar. I think we need to rest some legs. Yeah, we've got a must-win game in the week against Napoli, and then straight up on the heels of that, we've got United coming. So I think we should not underestimate this team. They're infinitely better than Burnley. If you think about in recent times, we played Watford, Everton, Bournemouth. I put those three together in terms of they're in that next bracket beneath well, literally the next bracket beneath the sort of European teams, and but I would be looking for more of the same from last night, really, to go there with enough options on the bench if you need.
So are you like starting Divock again? Are you starting Daniel Sturridge again? I mean, it seems a big ask, maybe at least for both of them, because they haven't had much games.
They've probably not had enough games over a consistent period to go 3 times in a week for Divock only played a few minutes at the weekend, but maybe not. You're asking me to say who I want in the team, aren't you? So let me think. Kobe, you can go while I have a little think.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's a really tricky one because of the upcoming fixtures, and I'm always intrigued in these times because managers love the cliche of one game at a time, but I can't believe that's true in a week like this, because the Napoli game is so big. So I think that there's obviously an injury question. So is Mane going to be back, for example? What's happened with Joe Gomez? It looks like he's going to be out now.
He's out, yeah.
What's happening with Lovren, the mysterious Dejan Lovren, who likes to just sort of drop out of contention every now and then. So there's a lot resting on those sort of things, which players are even available from a fitness perspective. And then the other side of it is he's got some nice dilemmas, because the midfield, we mentioned before the Burnley game that he could change the entire midfield, and that's the case again if he chooses to.
Wijnaldum got a rest.
Yeah, so I think Wijnaldum and Fabinho come back in because it helps to keep that intensity, and what that allows you to do then, going into the Napoli game, is pick whoever you want. You can pick your best 3 for that game, because none of them have been overexposed in the 7 days before. I'd be surprised if Keita drops out after his performance, but then he's just coming back from injury, so maybe they'll be looking at him thinking,
maybe they looked at him and said, we need him for
Napoli. Yeah, exactly. And even United, United and Napoli is a really interesting back-to-back challenge, because I said this about Napoli at the time we played them. I think what we struggle against most are really high-quality teams that play defensively and in a great shape, and that's Napoli and Man United before, like historically with Mourinho. Whether that's still the case, who knows? So he may be looking at those 2 games thinking, well, I need me lads who can unpick a lock to be as fresh as possible for those 2 matches. The Bournemouth game, actually, we'll get more opportunities, because the one thing we know Bournemouth will do is they'll play, and they'll want to play. So it should give us more of an opportunity, whoever's on that pitch. But Firmino and Salah have had a rest, so I think it's a really difficult one to predict.
Napoli's Tuesday, isn't it? And then United's Sunday.
Yeah.
So people could easily play Tuesday, Sunday, but the Saturday, Tuesday's more of an issue, especially when it's such a big game on Tuesday. So you sort of expect, 7 changes now against Burnley looks fantastic. Everyone was losing the ship, but now it's like, great, all those people got a rest, and that's brilliant. So I would say you're probably going to get a lot of changes again back almost for Bournemouth, aren't you? Yeah,
I think so. The thing about sort of space between games, I always think the freshness that you need is in the attacking third, because that's where those little split-second passes, that little split-second movement is really important, and that's where fatigue really takes away from you. But saying that, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I can't imagine him leaving Firmino and Salah out again. But then for them to play again, however many hours later it is on Tuesday. But then I'm sort of wrestling myself even talking about it, because it's Tuesday night, which is a different thing altogether, because that's different to a 12 o'clock Tuesday game, because you almost get another day's recovery there. So I would say most of the people who missed Burnley will come back in for Bournemouth. There may be a Keita omission, because as Johnny says, he's going to play Tuesday and we need him to be fresh.
But yeah, I think that makes loads of sense. You'd expect Robertson to come back in. Although I didn't think Moreno had a particularly bad game at all. I thought he played okay, but I think he'll come back in, because he'll want to. The other thing is, you don't want the first team to become stale through not being used. If Robertson's had 10 days off, whatever it ends up being, so he probably needs to play. I wouldn't change the goalkeeper. I think the Keita one's interesting. I think the sit down, the arm round the shoulder of Keita is actually, you've done really, really well you're going to go again, or you've done so well, I want you for Napoli and I want you for Man United, so I'm going to rest. And I think that's the type of decisions he's got to make. I think hopefully, like Firmino did well last night, so he's been below par, and you just hope that from this he can now move on. So I'd be looking to get him back in the team, I think, and he's enjoyed his rest, he's come back and he's contributed, so I haven't really given you a team, I'm not going to.
Okay, no worries, but it's too hard. Do predictions instead, that's easy, go on. I'll just see it go.
I expect it to be challenging in the way that last night was challenging and the way that Watford was challenging, but ultimately I think Liverpool are a level above this team, and I would expect us to win, if not by one, maybe two clear goals.
Okay.
Yeah, City beat them 3-1, Arsenal beat them 2-1. I'd be surprised. I was going to say I'd be surprised if we keep a clean sheet, but then I immediately thought, oh no, I'm changing my mind on that because we are so good defensively now, which is a good sign. Yeah, I'd probably say 3-1 victory.
Okay, and it could also be James Milner's 500th Premier League appearance in this match. He'll become the 13th player to reach that landmark should that happen. He'll also become the second youngest to do so, behind only Gareth Barry. Just thought I'd throw a bit of a stat in there. And the final stat for you, and this is a good one as well, Alisson has remained unbeaten in his opening 15 league games as a Liverpool player, and that's equalled the record set by Javier Mascherano in November 2007. So if he plays and doesn't lose the match, he'll have a record as well. It's great when these records keep sort of ticking over, because it just underlines yet again, Liverpool are doing really well, Liverpool are doing great, they've got a great side, they've got a good manager, good keeper, good centre-half. It looks like we've got a brilliant midfielder on our hands now, and Keita, the one that we thought we were getting, is now starting to show his face. And then there's the lads up front as well. So if you're not happy with that, football's not for you. Anyway, we're going to end the show with Neil and the Tactics Board. He's going to tell you a little bit about what he thinks might happen at Bournemouth. Enjoy yourself if you're going down there. Up the Reds. Keep on supporting the Anfield app. Watch the videos, listen to the podcasts, read the site. Get in.
Liverpool go to the South Coast, go to Bournemouth for a hell of a game this weekend, 12:30 kick-off. The Reds exhausting oppositions and then beating them in the second 45 of games. Bournemouth are interesting. They tend to line up, not like this, but instead something that's more sort of 4-4-1-1, to be quite honest with you. Moved the counters around in the wrong place there, so something that's been like that. That's their week in, week out sort of shape there. David Brooks has been excellent for them off one flank. Ryan Fraser's got the most assists in Europe, I believe, off the other flank up top. Wilson's having a really good season with Josh King behind him. And in the middle of the park, they've been going with, on the whole, two from Cook, Lerma and Sermon. That's what they've been doing in the middle of the park there. But when they play the bigger sides this season, they've actually been moving to three at the back. Three at the back would be really interesting if they come up against Liverpool. So then they're picking Wilson still up top, and then it's two from Fraser, Brooks and King. And then that midfield two sits in there as well, Cook and probably Lerma for this one, if they go with that sort of shape. Throws a question for Liverpool, to be quite honest with you, because I've lined us up here 4-2-3-1 or 4-2-1-3, however you want to look at it. And I think we've been doing that this season when we've picked Fabinho. The manager's been wanting to do little bits and pieces of it. He's wanted to have Shaqiri in as part of that. But he's used Shaqiri twice in a week. Would he bring Fabinho back in? If he does bring Fabinho back in, does he go with this shape? Because the one thing you would point out is that Liverpool's 4-3-3 has got a really strong record against back threes. Gives the manager a question or two, and he's not really going to know the answer to that question until he sees the Bournemouth team sheet. Adam Smith will probably be out for Bournemouth, which is a real shame. He's a really good fullback from their point of view, not from ours, obviously. Liverpool can get at them. Nathan Ake's impressed for them throughout the season. This is a good Bournemouth side. They've got the same number of points as Manchester United and as Everton. They were unfortunate not to beat Manchester United. They were unfortunate not to beat Arsenal. They've given teams a real good go this season. They went to Manchester City and scored just before the break. They're not going to have Liverpool come and roll over. They're going to look at their record against us on the whole. They're going to remember that comeback. Yes, we did them 4-0 last season, and that'll be in their minds as well. It should be a really, really good game, but this is the marker point. Do Bournemouth go back 4? Do Bournemouth go back 3? I mean, you know, Jurgen Klopp's analysts won't even know which way they'll go, so what chance have I got?